From Coach Richard Wacker Stadium in Glassboro, New Jersey, we welcome you to the 2022 NCAA Division III Field Hockey National Championship game. It's the four-time defending national champs, the Middlebury Panthers, tangling with the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays for the second consecutive season in this, the title game. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us here on NCAA.com. Alongside former Michigan captain Kara Lentz, I'm Drew Casey. Kara, as we get set to start this one, let's take a look at the bracket and just how we've gotten to this point. We saw two really highly contested national semifinals on Friday.
Something you have to keep in mind with Johns Hopkins, this team has not allowed a goal in the NCAA tournament. 1-0 shutout over Williams has allowed this team to get into the final today, so their defense is playing phenomenal in the postseason. Meanwhile, Middlebury took care of business early in the game against Rowan, jumping out to a 2-0 lead after the first quarter. And this is a team that is looking to clinch their fifth straight national title. Yeah,
unprecedented. These Middlebury Panthers looking to become the first team to do that in the course of Division III field hockey, and they've got themselves an opportunity to do it. Meanwhile, Johns Hopkins, you mentioned the shutout victories. Middlebury getting out quickly. I think that's going to be a key. Just looking back to Friday with chatting with both head coaches, seeing their post-game comments following Friday. If Middlebury can start very quickly, just like they did on Friday, it's going to be tough for Johns Hopkins to get something going.
The forward for Middlebury, Katie George, really a spark plug, I think, for this team. She said their mentality is early and often. That is a phrase that you're going to hear these attackers use very often in regards to getting out within the first minute. They want to be able to set that tempo. They were able to do that on Friday.
Yeah, and Audrey Lazar there, who wears jersey 2 in the home whites for Middlebury today. She had 3 goals, the first 3 which Middlebury scored. Katie George was a big reason why in helping her get upfield, as Lazar, the junior from Orchard Park, New York, where they had over 6 feet of snow in the last couple of days. So our best to those of you tuning in from the Lazar area and that neck of the woods. We get set here on a cold day. It'll be Johns Hopkins in the black-based uniforms with the blue numbers and trim. Both teams going with different uniforms than we saw on Friday, and we are underway with the 2022 NCAA Division III Field Hockey National Championship game. Official temperature when we get things rolling here, 36 degrees. It feels like 32 with the wind chill and a wind that is gusting up to 20 miles per hour. Back line here for Anna Scott, star center back for this Johns Hopkins team. Give you the starting lineups here. These two teams like to move very quickly, so let's fit them in while we have a moment. For Middlebury, again in the white uniforms, the designated home team, a record of 20-1 overall. Charlotte Marks starts alongside Audrey Lazar, Amy Griffin, Lily Branca, Sadie Lestage, Katie George, Catherine Lancey, Grace Murphy, Caroline Siegel, who did score as well on Friday, Emily Stone, and the star goalkeeper in her 4th season is Grace Harlan. Meanwhile, for Johns Hopkins, Tessa Erickson starts alongside Abby Burke, Jen Mara, Sadie Aboud, little transition here. Sienna Urbanski, who had the goal for Hopkins on Friday. Emily Knight, Michaela Schaff, Olivia Fox, Liz Falterer, Anna Scott, and the goalkeeper is Alexis Loader for the Blue Jays. 19-3, they've won 16 in a row in the black-based uniforms here today. This is Branca approaching the edge of the circle, and Hopkins looks to clear.
Branca is so good at entering the circle and drawing the corner, has an ability to cut the defense, break the double team. But instead, Middlebury here is going to work this ball around. You'll see the ball speed from Middlebury is quite high as well. Great turnover by Johns Hopkins.
It was Urbanski, the goal scorer, who was unable to participate in last year's NCAA tournament due to an illness. Got a little emotional following the semifinal win and just having the opportunity here and now to play for a national championship for the Blue Jays. Our umpires today on the field, Jade Carvalho and Jen Anton. The reserve umpire at the table is Judy Strong, and our video referral umpire, we do have that available if needed, is Andy Durr. We did see it used once on Friday, and it was on the goal, which was ruled no goal on the field in the Johns Hopkins matchup with Williams, and then overturned after video referral for the only goal in that matchup was in the second quarter of that game. Middlebury fans in attendance, all to their feet here, as they on-look at the defense. It's the offense for Johns Hopkins going to work. Falling forward on the near side is Anna Scott.
And Middlebury is scouting Scott hard. They're putting a lot of pressure on the center back, especially when they're in their deep backfield, looking to get some turnovers right at the midfield line or even sooner. So this is a Middlebury team that is pressing really hard when Hopkins is possessing the ball. And Anna Scott is really that field general in the backfield for Hopkins, and a lot of play directed through 32 in black.
Yeah, Middlebury head coach Catherine DiLorenzo sharing, and if you saw the game on Friday, you would agree, the front five of Middlebury with fantastic defensive awareness as well. That helps spur the effort and get into transition opportunities. Katie George was well ahead of the field out high on the left if they could have gotten it to her. Now a little bit more settled with George still on that left side, looking to get the feed from Caroline Siegel, the junior from Illinois.
Great takeaway there, too, by Olivia Fox. A lot of back and forth play in between the 23-meter for both teams.
Yeah, these two teams play with some of the best pace in Division III. Middlebury probably at the top in the speed and the pace department, but Johns Hopkins can match it. And we have a whistle here, and let's see what the determination is. Looks like it's a foot of some kind. Free hit for Hopkins. Maybe it was going to be a corner, but it's just going to be a restart from very similar to that mark, but of course a much different circumstance than it not being a corner.
Great midfield defense coming from Middlebury. I really like that the way that this team is able to move in the double team, and they have the slide always there, but you'll notice the foot positioning and the body positioning of the players outside of the circle. Charlotte Marks, number 1 in white for Middlebury, is definitely one of those players that directs a lot of play around here and how this team can defend. And you see Hopkins, with the time that they've been able to possess the ball, has still not been able to get inside the circle.
No shots yet for either team, nearly 5 minutes in. This national championship game, which is a rematch of last year's national title game, played in Hartford, Connecticut, hosted by Trinity. And Middlebury was victorious there 4-1, and they led that match 4-0. Similar story to what they did in the semis, Middlebury, that is, to last year's championship. They got up by double digits, or 2 goals, I should say, in the first half, and really did not look back. This is a different year and a different team, of course, on both sides.
Hopkins has been looking forward to this matchup. They want to face Middlebury again. They're doing it again in the national title. Having that loss last year in the championship game, that fuels your jets when you're going into the off-season, your off-season training, conditioning, and here they are with a phenomenal chance to be able to take it to Middlebury today. And when you look at Middlebury, speaking with the players, they don't think they're the same team either compared to last year. So the makeup and the way that these teams play, a little different compared to last year's matchup.
It's a Middlebury team that graduated a lot from last year, notably in their top goal scorers in Erin Nicholas, who had 2 goals in the national title game last year. Amongst many other awards as well throughout her career. Also was a finalist for the NCAA Woman of the Year last year.
Katie George, number 19 in white, is really good with her defensive skill. This is a player who actually started playing ice hockey at the age of 4, was not even interested in picking up a field hockey stick until her cousin said, hey, just give it a shot. She ended up falling in love with it, and she loved the NESCAC environment.
This is Audrey Lazar, hat trick on Friday, trying to get on through. Start offensive play, though, and sent right back where it came from by Michaela Schaff, who slid over and was able to clear. Actually, that's Falterer, Liz Falterer.
You have to stop Middlebury in transition on the counter in the midfield, because this team gets way too much force and momentum when they're building their attack by the time they get into their circle.
Break those lines down as any team would like to. Middlebury, one of the best at doing it. Mark of 20-1 on the season. Working hard to get through. Lazar got herself to the far side, but it'll break out for Johns Hopkins. Grace Waldeck comes on for Johns Hopkins, replacing Sadie Aboud. Hopkins team that will likely use more of its bench than Middlebury. Very deep team on both sides, but just the styles that we've seen in these couple of NCAA tournament matchups.
With the pressure that Middlebury is putting on as well, you're going to see Hopkins try to throw the ball out of the backfield, but you have to play it into a space that is clear, that is safe, and that is fair. So you have to make sure that those aerials are being played into a good area and not have a turnover and itself start coming back the other way.
And Branca turns it over there, taken and controlled by Johns Hopkins and Grace Waldeck. You're joining us for the first time here From Glassboro, New Jersey, it is the gold markings on the field for everything field hockey related. Backhanded try sent on through, looking for Lazar, and it's wide for another Hopkins restart.
Grace Murphy, so aggressive at the right midfield position and has an ability to eliminate defenders and find herself inside the circle. I think Middlebury has good sticks and quick sticks when they're inside the circle, and their speed of execution and execution of thought is impressive.
More than halfway complete with the opening quarter. Scoreless. Officially no shots just yet. Both teams have had position near the circle. No corners have been awarded just yet. No cards have come out. We saw, for field hockey standards, a good amount of cards in the semifinals in both matchups. A couple of yellows as well. Nothing here just yet as Griffin dishes off for Middlebury in the home whites. Looking for what would be the 5th consecutive national title. Lestage had it knocked away, and it will be restarted by Scott.
And Anna Scott's going to need to come over to the opposite side of the circle to help the defense with the attack that Middlebury can bring.
Scott has started every matchup for Johns Hopkins, leading the team with nearly 1,300 minutes, 5 defensive saves. A senior from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Nice moment before today's matchup as the starting lineups were introduced. Youth field hockey players from the South Jersey area met the teams out there as they were announced over the public address system here. And what's been a great weekend here in Glassboro, South Jersey, Philly suburbs near the Delaware state line as well. Ball loose here in the area. Sent out of immediate danger by the Panthers.
Charlotte Marks is so steady over the ball, being able to keep the ball on her stick. And you really have to respect how quickly Hopkins is moving on the self-starts. The quicker you can get this Middlebury defense on the move, I think the easier you'll be able to find yourself inside the circle and take it back. Just how quickly this play can develop. You see Middlebury just a little disorganized in the defense, and 2 forwards positioned very nicely in front of the goal cage.
Balichek and Burke working together there, nearly resulting in our first shot on frame. That one should go down as the first shot officially, but we'll get those numbers after the quarter and bring them to you. It's Abby Burke, the graduate student who leads in nearly every category for this team. Working on to the stick work of the defense, though, winning it out. Poked on first by Catherine Lancy, and now up ahead.
Good team defense coming from the Panthers.
Hannah Medwar wears 3 for the Middlebury Panthers. She's the farthest up the field offensively, but it's going to be a free hit for the Blue Jays. Very similar pace that Middlebury came out with in the opener against Rowan in the national semifinal Friday. Johns Hopkins seems to be playing with more pace than they did against Williams, matching Middlebury here in what has been the opening 10+.
And the ability to sustain it throughout the 4 quarters. I think you saw just how well Middlebury can take you out of rhythm when you look back at that Friday semifinal game against Rowan. So Hopkins, I love the intensity, the urgency that they have over the ball, and they've been able to get a lot of good opportunities inside their offensive end.
You see Middlebury there trying to go out wide, something they want to do. Of course, you exploit the center if you can, but if it's a wide area, Middlebury wants to get out there and use the entire field. And again, it's the gold markings on this field that indicate everything for this field hockey contest. Multi-purpose facility here at Rowan University.
Strong possession for Hopkins coming out of the backfield as well. That transfer ball is on. Not as much pressure on the press coming from Middlebury's attack. And Middlebury just possesses the ball really well. They have excellent ball movement, and where that is orchestrated, it's coming from the screen. So when you look inside, you're going to see Amy Griffin, number 5 in white, from Middlebury, who does a tremendous amount of movement off ball to create some open passing lanes.
And that Johns Hopkins midfield transfer was something that head coach Jane Wells really was stressing after the win in the semifinal. That's something they need to do better here in this championship to have a good opportunity to succeed. And through the first 10+, solid in that area. Really a 50-50 start we've seen. Both teams still looking for a shot towards cage. This is Urbanski, the goal scorer from Friday. Approaching the circle. Cleared away. Out of the reach, though, of Grace Murphy. And it'll stay on this end. Looks like Jen Mara, who had the assist on the Urbanski goal after it was a fired shot from Abby Burke. Tic-tac-toe with 2 deflections for the Blue Jays goal. in the semifinal.
Hopkins is hitting the Jets as soon as they come away with the ball in their midfields and then their forward. So these opportunities for the for Hopkins are coming from the defense transitioning to the offense. Really been able to step up to the ball, put pressure, and disrupt Middlebury in their possession game.
Still no shots, still no corners, still no goals. Approaching 2 minutes to play in this opening quarter with Carol Lentz, Drew Casey, the rest of our crew. On a cold day here for the national title in Glassboro, New Jersey. Also had no cards so far either. Stone couldn't control for Middlebury. Teammate has her back, Charlotte Marks, the junior from Manchester, Mass. And they'll try and build and break some lines right to left.
Excellent ability in Marks to scan the field before she receives the ball. And also, it's important when you're receiving the ball that you let it come across your body without touching it. And you're going to use your eyes and your vision the entire time. And she works really well with the two screens in front of her. And this has been a work in progress since last season when they went to the formation with the two screens. This is a team that feels like it's really clicking. Went back to work after their loss against Trinity, worked on a lot of things, personnel, lineup, and this Middlebury team has been able to take that into today's game.
Well, you see the breakout here. It's Medwar who got it from Lancy. Now Medwar trying to break in towards the circle. A couple of players, one on each team, go down, and it'll break for Hopkins here. Less than a minute to play in this opening quarter, scoreless. Can one team find the back of the cage before we take a timeout? This one is through. No touch from anybody, so it's innocently through the circle and coming out for Johns Hopkins.
Griffin is well positioned in the center of the field, and when she comes up with the ball and the way that she reads it and intercepts, she can create that attack, generate the attack from the midfield, and really get some good vision going upfield. I think she is such a threat. Just a sophomore, too, and Griffin has done wonderful things since she first stepped on campus.
Strong stick work there by Lily Branca and her first win of the ball, but we now move under 5 seconds, and ball a little bit jarred loose here. Johns Hopkins not going to have time to restart, and we have reached the end of one quarter. Zeros across almost all the statistical categories, but it's been an entertaining first 15 minutes here in South Jersey as we take a timeout. The second quarter of the national championship game right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Elite 90 Award recognizes the true essence of a student athlete by honoring the
Just about set for the second quarter of play as we take a look at the recent Division III field hockey past champions, and there's a lot of the same up there. Middlebury. Oh, Messiah in 2016, but suffice to say, Middlebury has had a pretty good control of this division in field hockey recently.
Competitive conference as well coming out of the NESCAC, and we saw two teams within the Final Four coming out of that with Williams as well. And Middlebury is just a team that brings it every single year. The head coach, Catherine DiLorenzo, classifies this as a young team as well. So for them to get to this stage with the success they've had in previous seasons, with the players graduated, is tremendous.
Yeah, you look at the breakdown by year on this Middlebury roster. To back up what Coach mentioning, just 3 seniors on this entire roster, 8 juniors, 9 sophomores, and 7 first-year players for the Panthers, who check in as the second-ranked team in the country coming into this postseason. It was Salisbury who was number 1, but they were upset in the quarterfinals by Williams. Johns Hopkins then defeated on Friday in the semis. No corners, no shots officially in the first quarter either. No cards. But plenty of action to speak of. Glad you're with us with Carol Lentz, the former captain at Michigan. I'm Drew Casey, and the rest of our crew battling the elements today on what is a 36-degree Sunday afternoon in South Jersey.
This is a great possession coming from Middlebury. Branca tried to cut to the outside, but I think Hopkins has been shutting Middlebury down on the wings and on the outside lane. So instead, spin the ball back in and find the center. And that's where Amy Griffin is positioned, and she's been able to move the ball.
Ball loose in the circle, have not had many of these opportunities, but quickly it's coming right back out. Katie George was in the area for the Panthers.
Hopkins defense is locked down. Can't stress enough how well they've been playing in the NCAA tournament. Have not allowed a goal, and when you look through the course of the season, they have only allowed 1 goal off of an opponent's attack penalty corners.
16 shutouts for Johns Hopkins in 22 matchups, and this one's coming out.
And 11 straight shutouts after their 3 straight losses. And when you look at what they were able to do on the offensive end, 43 goals over the span of those 11 straight shutouts.
In this NCAA tournament, 3 wins for Johns Hopkins. All have been by 1-0 margins to get to this point. That's all you need. When asked about it following what was the semifinal win, find a way to win. Anna Scott, Sienna Urbanski saying the team very comfortable playing when they get that first goal and get that 1-goal lead. They've been in a bunch of them. The first goal highly critical in this game and frankly could be the only one.
There were a lot of discussions internally with this Hopkins team following the 3 straight losses, and head coach Jane Wells says there's nothing like experiential learning. And when you're in the middle of your season and things aren't working, you aren't getting those wins, you have to have the ability to evaluate all of the details to make your team better. This team has bought in. They have belief. They have tremendous amount of confidence and excellent leadership to get this team to the title game today.
This is Lazar, 3 goals in the semifinals. Ball loose in the area, looking for an outlet. Branca there, but taken and controlled defensively. A whistle sounds. It'll break for Hopkins. Looks like Balacek had dropped back defensively to help out for Johns Hopkins, and that's precisely who it was.
All of the forwards for this Middlebury team display tremendous amount of speed. You see this right here, attacking baseline, try to find that centering pass. Nicely marked by Hopkins defense right around the stroke mark to eliminate Middlebury from getting a touch on the ball. This is a forward and an offense for Middlebury that believes where one player may lack in skill or a certain skill set, another player on that forward line can make up for it. They have complete trust in each other.
That they most certainly do. 2 of the best defenses in the entire country on display here. Johns Hopkins, 11 goals allowed this season. Middlebury, 12 goals allowed this season. Both of these teams now have not allowed a goal in more than 214 minutes. For Middlebury, after no goals scored by the opponent in the first quarter, the Panthers haven't allowed a goal in close to 350 straight minutes.
Katie George given a green card by the field umpire for play right along the sideline. And if you're coming in from behind and you hit the stick, that's going to be an automatic call. So George will sit out for 2 minutes.
So this is our first card, our first advantage for either team. Johns Hopkins, if you're just joining us in the black-based uniforms, up a player for the next 2 minutes until 9:02 on the clock. We saw George pick up a yellow card, 5-minute variety in the semifinals. That left the door open for perhaps a little bit of a Rowan momentum swing, but it was already 2-0. This one ricochets just wide.
Wow.
Will result, though, in a corner from long distance.
What a rifle coming from Olivia Fox, stepping up more in the midfield position with the player advantage because they want to use her strike and her hit, trying to find the opposite post. And if you can get inside the circle on those quick releases in the midfield for Hopkins, great things will happen.
So here we go, first corner for either team. Also remember that Johns Hopkins playing up a player. That doesn't play a role in the number of players coming out of the cage, of course. Johns Hopkins readying for corner number 1. Middlebury saw this on Friday and throughout the season. Take their time getting set up defensively, and they are all set to go. So we wait for the insert. 10 to the near side. Looking perhaps to get it across for Scott. Defense, though, is strong for Middlebury, and Griffin is able to start the clearing process.
This is a good scout for Middlebury, knowing that knowing that Abby Burke is going to be the person at the top of the circle for Hopkins, where the ball is going to be directed towards. So that was just a brilliant read by Griffin on the trail position to take away that option. So much pressure from that defensive corner set.
Middlebury team that has only conceded an average of 3 corners per match. Johns Hopkins defensively only conceding about 5, so not expecting to see many opportunities there. Those set-piece opportunities could be oh so critical in what is expected to be a low-scoring defensive battle here for the national title. Panthers still disadvantaged for about 20 more seconds. They'll go back to level action after the green card time expires to Katie George.
Falterer has stepped up to the ball a couple of times in these first 2 quarters and has come away with excellent takeaways on her block tackle. Determined to step up when she makes that decision to come away with the ball, and she has. Just really disciplined in her individual defense. Has been able to get a couple of turnovers for her team.
Here comes Katie George popping onto your screen in the center, 19 in white, and we are back to even strength action. For the green card time and slight advantage is held off by the Middlebury defense. Johns Hopkins, the best chance we've seen by their team off the corner, but still unable to get one towards goal. At long distance range, offering is the first and only shot we saw that led to the corner.
And again, Falterer with a big takeaway. Seems like she's just robbing these attackers of Middlebury with the ball. Also a key part of the defense penalty corners for Hopkins as well. Really has an ability to get off of the goal line quickly into the top of the circle. Does a lot for her team.
Right on the edge of the scoring area. It's Sadie Lestage, and it looks like it'll be a corner as a result.
Baseline attack executed well by Middlebury. You really want to try to draw the foul. Defensively speaking, you use the sideline as an additional defender, but it's all about your body positioning. And what happens here is the ball, I believe, goes off of a foot of a Hopkins defender right along the baseline. And Middlebury, they thought their attack penalty corners were getting scouted really well, especially this season. So they have decided to but try to be more creative with the ways that they can score coming from the field of play. And we saw that in the semifinal game against Rowan, just how effective they can be from live action. But really, a big strength for them is their attack penalty corners.
Siegel will insert for Middlebury. It goes straight on high, looking for an opportunity. Griffin slides in, shot never got on through. Abby Burke blocked the shot, and it's ruled to have ricocheted off of her foot, it appears. And Johns Hopkins may be looking to go to video referral here, or she...
there's blood on Abby Burke's hand, so she's going to be going off to the sideline and seeing the medical staff. Time has been called on the field by the umpire. I'm going to take a look back at Abby Burke coming up to the top of the circle, number 5 in black, keying on, and this ball was lifted by Middlebury into her stick. I feel like that was a dangerous ball coming into the defense. But instead, the call on the field is another attack penalty corner for Middlebury. But they are without Abby Burke in that defensive penalty corner unit.
So they'll get set here. Second consecutive insert on the corner. Middlebury sets it up high for Lazar. Pass now into the area for Griffin. Has the slight step, ball loose. And coming out on high. Thought we had a whistle before all that, but no, ruled to come out to the top.
And that ball goes way beyond the attack penalty corner circle for Middlebury, trying to create some attack from the 23-meter.
Right back in, trying to perhaps win a third attack penalty corner here, and not going to be the case as Johns Hopkins is able to hold. And we still do not see Abby Burke just yet back out there. Strong takeaway.
Falterer is so strong on both her forehand and her reverse tackles. If you're Middlebury and you're having some frustration with breaking the back defense, you have to have an ability to go inside and out with your passing. You can't go straight through these outside backs for Johns Hopkins. Get the ball on the move, stretch the field out, try to create some more opportunities by changing up your attack. Hopkins is so strong, though. It's intimidating when you go up against defenders like that, too. And this team has incredible amount of confidence in how they can execute on their team defense.
They most certainly do, and whole different story from a season ago when Middlebury raced out to a 2-0 lead in the national championship game. This year, scoreless here, past the halfway mark of the second. Both teams have just one shot couple of corners, 2 for Middlebury in the last sequence, 1 for Johns Hopkins, all in this second quarter. Abby Burke still being worked on the sideline by the Johns Hopkins medical staff. She has a jacket to keep her warm as the right hand is bandaged up. Looks like one of the fingers or a couple of the fingers. She's just now picking her stick back up and seeing how the taping of those fingers will allow her to continue. And they might adjust that a little bit more as she will likely re-enter just as soon as she can.
Hopkins is winning the defensive battle. Too many times Middlebury has come inside their attacking 23-meter and just met by a brute force of a wall on the defense. That's the right idea. You want to turn back inside, find that cross ball.
Lancey sent it in. Somebody's coming off here, it appears, or some contact from behind. Let's see what color it is. It is green. And it might be Georgianne DeFeo who's coming off. Let's see here.
It's a good decision by Lancey, trying to cut across and get to the far side of the circle. And I think some physical contact before she tried to receive the ball issued the green card.
So it is DeFeo. She is off for 2 minutes, coming at 5:29, so goes till 3:29 of advantage time for the Blue Jays. They hope they can score. Second time they've had this advantage. Middlebury and George send this one in. Abby Burke for Johns Hopkins. Still being worked on by the medical staff. Middlebury trying to get through. A whistle, and we might have another card coming.
Coming against Falterer too, and just may have gone for the all stick right there as opposed to the ball. Gonna take another look. And you see Middlebury just trying to make this 1v1 situation work, and you see Falterer. Her body just gets in the way when Murphy is trying to move forward and progress toward the ball or through the ball.
So 90 seconds even for this one-player disadvantage for both. So even strength, then it will be 30 seconds of time with a player up for Middlebury. We'll keep you posted as those times expire, and that advantage, if it gets to that point for Middlebury, becomes one. But for now, player off on both sides for receiving green cards. Georgianne DeFeo of Middlebury at 5:29, Liz Falterer of Johns Hopkins at 4:59. Most importantly, we are scoreless here, late stages of the second quarter. Lancey.
Hopkins really packing that defense too with the number of defenders.
Branca lost it. Strong defense by the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. Abby Burke is back on after catching that ball in the penalty corner on her right hand. Looks like she has the right ring finger heavily taped. No glove. Glove on the left hand in these cold temperatures. Might not be able to get the glove over it.
It's always 70 and sunny, as my coaches used to say, Drew.
When you're playing for a national championship, that is the case. It's the same for everybody. You wonder about fatigue? Heard it from a couple of coaches over the years. When you're playing for a national championship, there is no such thing as fatigue. Doesn't exist. Slight advantage for Middlebury now for the next 25 seconds or so, as DeFeo's 2 minutes of green card time have expired. And they look to build here. Johns Hopkins will even it up at 2:59 on the clock, so coming up in just about 10 seconds.
Middlebury bringing their backs up more into the attack, so trying to change the vantage point of where the ball is feeding from. But Hopkins is doing a great job with staying well organized on the interior part of their defense, especially inside the circle. It's this great formation coming from Hopkins.
Couple of whistles here. Free hit coming for Middlebury. This is Griffin. Ball loose. Out front. Johns Hopkins able to get to it. Abby Burke. Shot towards Cage. And Hopkins will look to move in a little bit of transition here as we're back to level strength. Pace picking up, physicality picking up, as evidenced by the couple of cards we've seen.
Middlebury not being able to jump out to those early leads like we have seen throughout the course of the season. So if you're the Panthers, maybe some frustration on your attack and not being able to get inside the circle and to get some clean looks. But Hopkins is just playing with a great amount of confidence on their defense and also moving the ball really well, even with pressure right now they're getting from Middlebury.
Good line breakdown for Johns Hopkins. Grace Waldeck, though, slowed up in the midfield. Branca across now, the step through from DeFeo. Strong pass across, had some space for Siegel developing on a tic-tac-toe opportunity, but the first pass off the mark.
That's exactly what you want to do. You want to be able to get this Hopkins defense on the move, have them bite on the ball, and then that's where the opposite side forward or midfielder is open. Going to get some quality looks if you can cross that ball inside the circle.
Handy stick work there by Grace Murphy to control that one out of the air and then rush up with it. But better defense from the graduate student, Abby Burke.
Just defense is on lockdown for Hopkins.
Nearing a minute to play in this first half. Scoreless in the national championship game here in 2022 in Glassboro, New Jersey on the campus of Rowan University. Shot totals at the moment just 1-1. One for both sides. This is Lancey. She's been good in the midfield in building centrally. Has Branca to her left, instead keeps it herself and moves right. Catherine Lancey. Edge of the area now deflected out wide. Stays on this side with Murphy. 24 seconds left to play in the second quarter. Corner coming for Middlebury.
That was all Catherine Lancey, one of the screens for Middlebury that started this attack in the midfield. And Middlebury instead transferring the ball through the midfield and able to finally pull this defense apart, get inside the attack penalty circle. And with a great opportunity here, 20 seconds left on the clock to score and get yourself up on the scoreboard before halftime.
Could be a huge momentum swing, especially with a possible goal coming this late in the half. Corner number 3, all have been in the second quarter for Middlebury. It's inserted from Siegel. Stepping in, shot misfired from Grace Murphy. And then sent in and loose, and certainly not the idea, but she just missed on that one.
Well, Falter is that flyer that's coming up from the goal line, gets herself in front of the ball, and makes the opponent flustered.
And that will now bring us to halftime. So Middlebury held off the board. 3 corners, especially one late in the final 30 seconds, and we've hit halftime between these two, Middlebury and Johns Hopkins, in a defensive battle as we suspected. We'll take a timeout. Second half straight ahead of this NCAA Division III Field Hockey Championship. 0-0 at the break between Johns Hopkins and Middlebury. Back with you here at halftime of the 2022 Division III Field Hockey National Championship game, and you see it there, scoreless between Johns Hopkins and Middlebury. With Carolens, I'm Drew Casey. Delighted you're with us here on NCAA.com. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights from the first 30 minutes of play here on the campus of Rowan University, and it was a story of opportunities on both sides, Kara.
And Hopkins was able to get inside their attack penalty circle and come away with a corner, but Middlebury's defense just excellent with coming up from the goal line. Amy Griffin comes away with a great takeaway. And then this Hopkins defense was tremendous in the second quarter with the amount of force they were getting from Middlebury's attack. You see a great save there coming off of the boot of the goalkeeper and then a shot from the top of the circle. But Falterer has been excellent for Hopkins on the defense, but it's the whole defense that's playing as a team, playing as a unit right now, that's really giving Hopkins a chance to be in this game.
Yeah, Alexis Loader, the big save there, 77 for Johns Hopkins. Some of the first half numbers there minimal. Shots were 1-1. You saw the one that was on goal for Middlebury, stopped by the Johns Hopkins keeper in Loader. 4 total corners. 3 of the 4 were Middlebury. All were in the second. There were 3 cards given. All were green in color. Middlebury 2. and Johns Hopkins had 1. Fouls Middlebury nearly 2-1 in that department. 37 fouls against Middlebury, 20 against Johns Hopkins in the course of the first 30 minutes. The goalkeeper for Middlebury, Grace Harlan, has broken out of her huddle, and she gets set for what she hopes is another national championship, as the second half is just about set to begin, and it is off and running. Half 2, scoreless, 0-0 in this national championship game in 2022. Middlebury in the white-based uniforms, the designated home team. Johns Hopkins in the black-based uniforms for this national title game. And what is a rematch of last year's national title tilt? That was a 4-1 win for Middlebury and built a big lead early. Not the case here. This is Audrey Lazar, who had the huge game back on Friday. Big game player she is. She scored in the NESCAC semis, the NESCAC final, the NCAA semis, and can she make it a goal in the NCAA final? As the defense we've seen, 1 goal could very well win this one. Minute into this third quarter, something Johns Hopkins has done a bunch of this year. They've won their last 3 games 1-0, and they've won their last 6 games by just 1 goal. They have 9 1-goal dubs this year. That's most in the country. Spinning and trying to weave through is Amy Griffin. Play continues with Sadie Lestage. And this one will come on out and restart up at the top.
Clean tackle there by Hopkins, just keeping the stick on the ground. And if the attack tries to run through that, can really draw the fall and the foul and the free hit coming out of the backfield.
So Middlebury pressing up a little bit more here in this opening 90 seconds. And Johns Hopkins looking to break out. And we'll get an opportunity to do so here. Strong send up the near side from Anna Scott. It's going to get by everybody and into the bench area. Would be 5 consecutive national titles for this Middlebury team. They've won the last 4. This one sent on through. Little bobble. Now sent down for Erickson, who tries to complete that clearing process. Now, we talked about in the first half, Karen, Middlebury likes to start fast. Likely going to try and employ that here in the second half. And at a certain point, does fatigue set in? All the pace we're seeing here.
I don't think so. I think this Middlebury team is going to sustain this energy and urgency through the entire 4 quarters of regulation. And Hopkins is prepared for this. And they are just really adamant on keeping their communication high and playing as a unit and playing as a team, and they've been able to do that so far in this game. I think they also have not been fouling too much inside their defensive end and really keeping Middlebury away from setting up in these attack penalty corners through the first 2 quarters.
So Grace Murphy there is going to win an attack penalty corner coming for Middlebury. This will be their first of this second half. They had 3 back in the first half. They were all in the second quarter. And it will be their first attack on this end of the stadium here.
Just key in on Liz Falterer, number 31 in black for Hopkins, and how quickly she's coming off the goal line. Now, if you're Middlebury on these sets, you have to be able to read that fly and how you can distort her, pull her out of position, and see where you can find an opening on cage.
Siegel feeding on high. It's received an extra pass for Griffin. Quickly getting out. Falterer, as you mentioned, Kara disrupts.
And going out beyond the circle as well.
And it's cleared away. Defensive hold on what was corner number 4 for Middlebury.
This is a defensive penalty corner unit for Hopkins that has great trust in each other. I asked some of the players in the pregame practice, what's going on in the net when you guys are setting up for these? Because you've only allowed 1 goal off these corners. And, of course, no goals in this tournament, and it really was just as simple as trusting each other. But this is a well-oiled machine at this point in the season. And when you have the belief and the confidence and the trust in your teammates to make the right decision, to have the communication, to listen to your teammates, you know, this is a part of Hopkins' game that is working really well.
And of course, one of the main storylines is Middlebury's won 4 consecutive national titles, but this is Johns Hopkins' 4th consecutive trip to the national semifinals and 2nd straight opportunity in this national championship game. So well-oiled machine indeed.
And Hopkins feels like they've been well prepared for this moment that's been building over the past couple of years. When Jane Wells took over the program in 2017, she sat down with the seniors who were graduating who said, you know, we believe this team can win a national championship. And she's like trying all of her hardest not to say, like, you guys were 7-10. You know, are you sure the program can turn around that well? And sure enough, here they are. And playing with a great amount of confidence, has had great success with Jane Wells at the helm.
6th year as the head coach, 93-15 overall record with the semifinal win. I'd say that's pretty good. And it's been 5 straight regular season conference titles. That's in the Centennial. And 4 straight postseason Centennial tournament titles as well.
The seniors got together beginning of the season along with the rest of the team, and they wanted to understand where the biggest step they could make to be on the biggest stage, and that's playing in the national championship. And this is a team that believes about the championship mentality. The championship mindset is something that they have taken a lot of work in, and knowing the work that needs to be done in order to earn yourself a spot in the final.
Margin so tight here in this final. 2 total shots, 1 each, through what is now the first 35 minutes plus of action. Johns Hopkins athletically across their athletic department, looking for quite the weekend. Yesterday, women's cross country won the national championship. The 8th in program history for the Blue Jays there, which is now the most in Division III in women's cross country. And big matchups for men's soccer and women's soccer as they both play for a chance to make the national semifinals later today. Can they add a national title in field hockey, or will it be Middlebury, who continues what has been just an incredible run, 4 consecutive, and 5 out of the last 6 national titles for the Panthers.
Hopkins has spent a lot of time in figuring out how they're going to press Middlebury because of the 2 screens. So Hopkins plays with 3 forwards, but they're only sending 2 on the press, and that center forward is going to hold in the middle to make sure that those screens are covered as Middlebury is coming out of the backfield. And this is something that Charlotte Marks is also prepared to evaluate to see how the team is sliding on that press and in the transfer.
See everybody bundled up there. It is 36 degrees. It's been on that mark since we started. Winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour. Much of the possession in this third quarter has been on this end. Middlebury maintaining, have not seen much offensive action for the Blue Jays just yet in half 2.
Yeah, I think at this point you want to make that back pass and you want to swing this open. Recognize the number of Hopkins defenders that are outside the circle and just within this corner of the field, moving together as a team, and just the body and the footwork. But Middlebury continuing to test that, coming away with their second attack penalty corner of this quarter.
And Lestage winning it there. Might have caught a foot. Appeared to be what it was on the Johns Hopkins defensive side, as they will line up to get another look here.
Lestage so good along the baseline. She takes that self-start quickly, and you'll see a foot foul right here against the Hopkins defense.
So as you mentioned, Kara, Middlebury team that identity over the past years has been their success on this penalty corner. They've added the play on the field and scoring more live goals. 5th corner of this national title game. Straight on high, traditional shot towards cage. It's stopped and it's loose near the goal mouth. Will it go in? Yes, it will. And Middlebury has struck first in the third with 7:22 to play. Or are they waving it off?
So originally the call on the field I saw was ruled a goal, at least coming from the umpire who was positioned inside the circle. And time is still called, but this is going to be a free hit for the defense coming out of the backfield. If you're Middlebury, that might be a good point to use a video referral. It's hard to see where the ball is from that. And you do see the signals coming from the umpire.
Now transitional for Johns Hopkins there into the scoring area, and this is Erickson. too. I saw a good goal, and then it looked crazy.
Plays happen so quickly in this sport, but check out where Hopkins is now, inside their attacking 23-meter. High intensity being played by both teams on the field. Nothing short of exciting in the national championship environment, is it, Drew?
Especially in a game that at this point is very likely to be decided by just one goal, and as we play on further and further, it looks more and more like 1-0. 6.5 minutes left to go in quarter 3. Ball sent in there to Johns Hopkins, penalty play. So to get things set up, Johns Hopkins will. An opportunity to find one towards the back of the cage. So here we go. Johns Hopkins lining it up and steal some momentum here after Middlebury had gone 3 quarters through their goal celebration before a goal was waved off just a few moments ago. 6:14 to play. Quarter 3. Slotted on high. This is Burke. Winds and fires. Oh, what a block by Katie George, racing out of there. It'll stay with Hopkins. Just outside that circle.
Katie George's career as an athlete, she was actually a defenseman in hockey, and said in field hockey has transferred to one of the high forwards here for this Middlebury attack, but she said she was more of an offensive defenseman, so no wonder there that she's able to come out on the fly position, get to the top of the circle, and make a great defensive play against Hopkins.
Races corner number 2 for Johns Hopkins of this game very quickly. It's a Middlebury athletic program wide. The stick sports on the women's side are just really unbelievable. That, of course, includes women's ice hockey and women's lacrosse in the spring. But here it's field hockey, looking to keep it rolling with 5 consecutive national titles. Johns Hopkins in search of its first in the field hockey game. So shots now are even, 2-2. Each team with 1 on goal, so that will go down as a save on the last opportunity. Under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Penalty corner for Johns Hopkins.
Just pushing the ball with speed right along the outside of the midfield and being able to cut that corner, turn the corner towards the circle, splits the defense there. Just wonderful body control, and also with the urgency to get it inside. Hopkins is really putting their foot on the gas pedal here in regards to their offense, being able to come away with a second attack penalty corner.
So Urbanski is getting set to deliver this one. Remember, Urbanski had the goal in the semifinal, a deflection at the near post. Perhaps she could end up in that situation again.
Key in a number 32 to the left part of your screen at the L1 position, and Anna Scott.
Everybody's ready. Urbanski will go to Scott. Slight shift to the right, winds and fires a shot. There's Urbanski right on the doorstep, and she couldn't get to it, but it will be another corner. It was jostled, and if Urbanski maybe wasn't there, maybe that ball goes in.
The ball just a little off on the insert. And you'll see Urbanski just trying to get a touch shot. Looks like Grace Harlan was a little banged up on that play. Was slow to get up and kind of limping when she was able to get up off the turf. And the officials, the umpires have called time on the field and checking on the health of Grace Harlan.
It's paused with 4:39 to play in the third quarter. And that will then the training staff out for Middlebury. And it will have the first-year goalkeeper, Thea Rosenzweig, start to get loose and get all situated in case she is called upon here. And you see many teammates around Grace Harlan, who over the course of her career has a 4-year overall record of 63 wins and 2 losses. She is walking very slowly here and getting loose. You see Rosenzweig, the first-year player from Pennsylvania. And boy, would this change things here down the stretch of this game.
Take a look back at the corner. You see Harlan splits on the turf and is just slow to get up after that play.
Well, and there's not a lot of contact there. So those are the ones you almost worry a little bit more about. Cold day, tough to stay loose. And when in the splits, as we saw there, as multiple members of the Middlebury training and coaching staff around the goalkeeper for this Panthers team, they're working on the lower body, her right leg.
And Harlan really hasn't seen a lot of action in the first 2 quarters, right? So really difficult to keep your body warm in these temperatures when you're not getting a lot of play, but that certainly has changed in the 3rd quarter here for Harlan getting tested.
See some shakes, some nods of yes by all, it looks like. Grace Harlan perhaps will stay in this one. Rosenzweig is ready in case she's needed. And Harlan will stay in there. So after all this, she will be immediately tested. It is an attack penalty corner coming for Johns Hopkins. Their 4th of this afternoon contest. Urbanski back into Scott, who quickly fires the shot. Again, stopped by Harlan, immediately tested. Let's see how she bounces back from that. And she looks to be A-OK. Official on the backside confirms, got a little thumbs up. And she settles into her cage as the ball moves into the midfield.
Same play coming from Hopkins on the attack corner too, with the L1 position taking that shot. Anna Scott, and just nicely read by Harlan, coming away with a huge kick save as time is ticking down in the 3rd quarter.
It's now 3 saves for Harlan, coming off of what was a season high and actually also a career high in 6 saves against Rowan on Friday. Profs did not score, but they tested the Middlebury defense and the Middlebury goalkeeper. We have a whistle here, and this will break in favor of Johns Hopkins from right to left as they appear to be seizing the momentum here. Certainly the underdog slightly, given that Middlebury has won 4 consecutive national titles.
Middlebury's defense just think that Grace Harlan in the backfield is a rock for them, and her big saves that she's able to come up with gives them a sense of stability, according to Charlotte Marks, and team confidence as they're going throughout the course of the game. We've seen Harlan do that.
Through goalmouth from Griffin, and nearly an opportunity for Middlebury at the back post to jar one in. Let's take a look again. Here's Griffin. And it was flicked on just wide by Lazar, who did get a touch, nearly making it 1-0. So we've seen some of the best chances on both sides over the course of the last few minutes. Inside of 3 minutes to go in this 3rd quarter. Scoreless in the national title game.
If you're Hopkins, you really want to be able to come away with the ball and try to get back inside your attack penalty corner, because I think this team has a lot of momentum closing out the 3rd quarter. So want to be able to press in the midfield and prevent Middlebury from gaining any speed, which they've done throughout the course of this game. I think they have really slowed this Middlebury team down, and how they can possess the ball, how they can stretch the field. Being tested now on the defense.
Murphy with a good feed in front. Lots of space, shot towards goal. Kick save with the right hand. Second opportunity, sprawling goalkeeper. Ball loose and it'll come out.
Foot foul against the defense here against the attack on Middlebury. That was a great counterattack that you could just see stewing with the numbers around the ball. Anna Scott had to come out and make a play. And you see Siegel there trying to find that far post. Excellent save coming from Loader.
Good look after good look here in this 3rd quarter. Both teams trying to break the deadlock at 0. Under 2 minutes left to play in this third. Branca fires one in, ruled clean. Now a whistle comes, and it breaks for the Blue Jays. Johns Hopkins in the midst of the longest winning streak in the country. They've won 16 consecutive. They were 3-3 through the first 6 games. Here's Lestage trying to work it on through. Has Murphy with her. Defended closely by Jen Mara. And Mara wins the foul call.
Since those early season losses for Johns Hopkins, the thing that has really grown for this team, they believe, is their confidence. And that's a work in progress. That will take you a couple of games throughout the course of your season to get to a point where you can really play with a lot of pride and a lot of trust. And I think that is really on display just by how well Hopkins' defense is being able to eliminate Middlebury off the scoreboard.
Under 40 seconds left to play in this third. Defensively, Anna Scott here, working on the edge of that circle. Grace Murphy for Middlebury and White, 22. Coming around the backside was Siegel. He'll stay with the Panthers here.
If you're Middlebury, you just want to get inside the circle, stop the clock, try to earn your team a corner. Going to be quick off this cell start.
7 seconds to play in the quarter, scoreless game. And Griffin tried to get creative and get inside, but could not. And that will do it for the third quarter of play. We remain scoreless, 0-0. And coming off the field here, Grace Harlan. A little slow there as you see on your screen. That could be something to watch. She might need some help getting to the bench, or at least some pad adjustment. We'll have that and much more on the other side. Fourth quarter in the national championship game, 0-0 after this. Set to begin the fourth quarter of the national championship game between Johns Hopkins and Middlebury. That is the Middlebury star goalkeeper, Grace Harlan, continuing to be worked on by 4 members of the Middlebury coaching and training staff. It looks like they are adjusting some of the equipment. They've been doing that inside the circle. She attempted, it looked like, to run to her bench with the rest of her team and then immediately had to slow up. But she's made some big-time saves, and this is one of those big ones, and this is where the initial injury or the discomfort appeared to happen. Just the splits there stopped it out. A corner would come, and then we had about a 5-minute delay as the training staff came out for further evaluation. And it looks like Harlan, again, will continue using all full of those 2 minutes. And story within the story. Grace Harlan, who's been the goalkeeper over the course of 3 of the championships. And last 3 times Middlebury has won. Can she be on the roster and contribute and get the win in the 4th?
Well, the training staff was probably trying to put some treatment on her leg. It looked like the backside of her right leg, or some type of pad in order to keep the muscle warm. So that's a quick 2-minute adjustment coming from the athletic training staff, trying to keep Harlan in this.
So Murphy steps through. Ball loose for Middlebury here, but it may have been out over that sideline before play continued.
I think if you're Middlebury, you want to give your team a chance on those attack penalty corners. So at this point to start the fourth quarter, make sure you're getting inside the circle and trying to find the foul. Hopkins is just playing so amazing on the defense and the way that they can orchestrate as a team, as a unit, but you really have to use your speed, I think, at this point, if you're Middlebury, to get some calls.
Stats heading into this quarter, shots 4-3 in favor of Johns Hopkins, 3-2 on goal. Corners 5 for Middlebury, 4 for Johns Hopkins. A couple of green cards back in the second quarter, nothing in the third. This one comes up high. It'll stay with Johns Hopkins. Temperatures in the mid-30s with the wind and the real feel closer to 30 out there.
It's the second time Anna Scott has been over the ball where she can thread the needle, trying to find her forwards and really cover as much yardage as possible on those free hits. And these outside backs for Hopkins will continue to be more offensive on the offense and aggressive and how they can attack. And I love that concept because you're getting players who can feed the ball, who can distribute the ball closer to your attacking end, right around the 23-meter. And Anna Scott should expect that type of pressure, especially coming from Katie George, trying to get her head down. They're trying to keep this ball contained on an area of the field where they can come away with a turnover in their midfield.
Something we saw a lot of in the semifinal win for Middlebury, especially early on, was that offense where the offensive players, the forwards, pressing high and leading to a couple of transitional goals. Here's Abby Burke for Johns Hopkins. Whistle sounds here.
You're not going to be able to break 3 people in front of the circle with a direct hit or a sweep coming from those self-starts. I think if you're Hopkins, you just want to put the ball into play on those restarts and try to get this Middlebury defense on the move outside of the circle. And Hopkins can find that far post from way outside the circle. They have great ability to have those services into the circle.
12 minutes left in regulation time in this national championship game. Scoreless, here's Lazar, the hero, rather sent it instead by Siegel, who had 1 goal in the semis on Friday. Lazar had 3. She's out there as well.
That's a good job by the press for Middlebury. Katie George covering a good amount of distance over to the sideline. And then this is where Marks, I think, can be really effective. And how she carries the ball coming out of the back. She pretty much has the green light to bring the ball up to the midfield, but really diligent in how she can distribute the ball to her outside backs.
Amy Griffin in the area, unable to work it on through. Falterer's had a fantastic game. You've mentioned a couple of times, Kara. She is Kara Lentz. I'm Drew Casey. Thanks for being with us for this Division III Field Hockey National Championship game in 2022. Middlebury, Johns Hopkins, scoreless here. 4th quarter action from Coach Richard Wacker Stadium in Glassboro, New Jersey. Come down the stretch here. More and more likely that 1 goal is all that would be necessary. This is Griffin in the midfield for Middlebury and White.
And that's where you can execute Hopkins. With how diligent and disciplined they are with their tackling on the outsides, I think you can open up the game by dumping the ball to the middle.
Siegel fended off fantastically defensively, and Siegel taken down behind the play, ran through a little bit. Let's see if anything comes of this. Does not appear.
Siegel really asking for that corner call inside the attack penalty corner.
Michaela Schaff coming back on for Johns Hopkins, replacing Fox. Constant substitution pattern for Johns Hopkins, much more limited for Middlebury than what we've seen so far today, and that's what we expected. Less than 10 minutes to go now in regulation time. This is Stone. Has the step and stops just outside the scoring area. Dispossessed. Defensive foul whistle. Sent into the area. Never quite got to Loader. Tied up. Working on it. George loose in front and sent wide. Wouldn't have counted though. It was Lazar who was in the area.
Quick stick coming from Katie George and connecting with her teammate right in front of the post, but you just have to recognize the speed of play from Middlebury, how quickly they're receiving the ball, and then just trying to dump it in right into the stroke mark, and it goes off the foot of Lazar.
Near takeaway, trying to break out for Johns Hopkins. Seeing some of that forecheck a little bit.
This Hopkins team is just staying really composed with the amount of pressure that they're facing from Middlebury. Sticking to the game plan and making sure this defense is on lockdown.
Erickson with a good challenge on Charlotte Marks. Marks was almost stopping play there. She thought it might go out over the near sideline, or at least would have won a foul, but no, not the case. Going the other way.
And Hopkins is going to have to push with some urgency here. And this midfield defense from Middlebury is going to be a hard one to break. Decide to work the ball back around.
Flicked over centrally. It'll stay with Johns Hopkins as they build. We roll under 8 minutes to go in this national championship matchup. Still no score. Shots 4-3 in favor of Johns Hopkins. Neither team with a shot in this fourth quarter. Johns Hopkins in search of national championship #1 in field hockey. Middlebury in search of what would be number 7 overall and 5th consecutive. Emily Stone trying to break out. It's around Belichick now sends ahead. Tied up. Falterer, which way does the call go? It breaks for Johns Hopkins.
Falterer stepping up all the way from the opposite side.
Here's Siegel now for Middlebury. George in front of her in white. Siegel goes down in the area. Coming out to the top.
Siegel is just determined to get inside that circle on this attack from Middlebury. Well defended on the free hit, and that's going to transition to a really quick counterattack, but that's a low percentage area of the circle to shoot the ball. If you're Middlebury, I think you want to spin back around, try to find the foul, give your team an opportunity on a corner.
Less than 7 minutes remaining here in regulation time. Strong takeaway by Jen Mara with handy stick work. Right near her own bench, ball is still in play.
With as intense as things are in the field, definitely see some physical play. You do not want to get carded. If you're any player on this field, to give your team a disadvantage to close out this game, and especially if you look at some of the major fouls that will require a yellow, because those do transition over into overtime. That's necessary.
Yeah, it is sudden death overtime if we need it. Up to 20 minutes of time past the fourth quarter can be played. If we're still level, and in this case would likely be 0-0 still, we would go to a shootout to determine the national champion. But of course, that's a long way away. That would mean a tie score in the next 5:47, and then no goals in 20 minutes of additional time played. George slotted inside, looking to get it to Siegel. Many of the same names up front we've called throughout this weekend for both teams. Middlebury's been in the attacking area much more in this second half compared to Johns Hopkins. And again, that to be a bit expected. The stage has a runner to her right, and Grace Murphy instead keeps herself. So we tick towards 5 minutes to go.
Great take right in the middle. Siegel just gets a little touch on it.
Gives some space for George. Tried the cross. Stronger defense in the center, though. Anna Scott, oh so strong. And she'll retreat back to her center back spot as the ball is right back into her. She has a touch. And it will come out for Johns Hopkins.
And Hopkins is not going to give you much time to possess the ball before they come away with some clean tackles. What does that mean? Shoot. As soon as you're inside the circle, get a touch on the ball and try to get something on frame. This is also a Middlebury team that is well positioned on their attack and how they can get the rebounds inside the circle.
Audrey Lazar has re-entered for Middlebury. She just shed the jacket, replacing Georgianne DeFeo for Middlebury. 2 in white, 3 huge goals. Big game player. She scored in the conference semis, conference finals, and has 4 goals in this NCAA.
Siegel just playing with a great amount of urgency for this Middlebury team, really trying to get those self-starts initiated quickly.
Here's Lancey. Inside the circle at the moment. Tries to get on through. Tied up. Whistle and breaking out for Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, as soon as you spin out and you're on the inside of the circle, take a shot. You have to get something on cage. This Hopkins defense is saving most of these shot opportunities just by playing around with the ball too much inside the circle.
Players go down here right at midfield.
And like I said, you want to be careful about the physical play. Any player on the field does not want to go out on the sideline after being issued a card. Emotions are high for both sides. And just a little bit of contact coming from both players on that play.
Emily Amsden is off and with the training staff from the Johns Hopkins sideline after that collision. Under 3 minutes to go in regulation time here. Scoreless in the national title game. LaStage across, shot towards goal. That won't get close, not even to the stroke mark.
Good
And it will
positioning.
be Johns Hopkins.
Good positioning coming from LaStage at the top of the circle, but that ball lifted into the defense. And Middlebury's knocking here.
Trying to find a way, which would likely be the winner at this stage of the game. It's Grace Murphy inside for Griffin. On back to the right side, Murphy inside. Ball ricocheting in, Lazar. Foot mark, and let's see, corner coming.
Yeah, it'll be a foot foul against the defense here for Hopkins, and this play started from the quick restart. Griffin had to come up, and when you create those 2v1 scenarios, you can really start to pick apart the defense. And as soon as you're near the circle, I'm telling you, you have to send those balls to net, because situations like this happen, and you can draw that foul. And Middlebury needs to execute on their set pieces here, and I think this is an opportunity to be patient in reading the defense and how they come out off the goal line.
So Siegel will insert. Griffin and Murphy are straight on high. It goes left. We have a whistle here.
There was the Middlebury player, Grace Murphy, came off of the circle too early. You are not allowed to move inside the circle until the insert is taken. And if there's any foul against the attack, the inserter must come up to the 50-yard line and not be part of the corner play.
So that's going to change things up here, and it will be LaStage who will take this. Changes everyone else's positioning as well. Griffin and Murphy straight on. Out to challenge immediately. Here's some space for Middlebury. Shot towards goal. Kicked with the left by Loader and outside of the circle. So a little bit of an unforced error for Middlebury on their optimal setup on the corner. And the Johns Hopkins defense holds.
True, I would say that was a great play by Falterer. You know, in the 5 position who came up again and is able to disrupt it. You have to eliminate her. So I think if you hold the ball and you simply let her overcommit or make a pull, you take her out of the game. And then that's going to open up your attack inside the circle.
Murphy sends this one in. 90 seconds to go. The Johns Hopkins faithful want the Blue Jays to go quickly. Falterer all the way down past mid. And this is Charlotte Marks for Middlebury. Trying to keep Murphy, but it's out over the near line. 1 minute left to play in this national championship game in regulation time. Middlebury possession. Can either team play hero in regulation, as we are essentially at de facto sudden death, and we'll get there if we proceed to overtime in just a little bit. Here's Siegel for Middlebury, hung up there, ruled clean. Fantastic defense.
Anna Scott read that play beautifully, had to come out, and that's just simple 1v1 defense. And able to stop that, especially with a Middlebury player coming down with a lot of speed. But just look how much it can spark your counterattack. And with the energy that you have after a big stop, Anna Scott, the best center back Jane Wells has ever coached at Johns Hopkins, does so much for her team. None more or bigger of a moment than that.
Inside of 10 seconds left to play in this fourth quarter, and both teams seem to be content to head to overtime. And that is where we will go. National title, sudden death overtime coming up between Middlebury and Johns Hopkins. Back with it after this from Glassboro, New Jersey.
2 7-3 overtime periods of 10 minutes shall be played. The score is still
We head to overtime in the 2022 Division III Field Hockey Championship game featuring the Middlebury Panthers and the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays, and we enter overtime, Kara, 0-0. Both teams have just 4 shots. The defense has been exceptional. The goalkeeping has been very good on both sides when tested in limited opportunities, and we've got ourselves a very exciting finish on our hands.
Yeah, and it's the speed of Middlebury will really be on display with limited players on the field and how big this field becomes when you only have 7 aside. So Hopkins is going to have to continue doing the same thing they did throughout the entire game. That's playing good defense, disciplined defense, and team defense. And I think also you really have to look at the strength of each goalkeeper. These players play a much bigger role in these overtimes.
Now for Middlebury, who breaks, this will be their first overtime appearance this season. They have not played an overtime game this year. In fact, they've only played 2 one-goal games this season. This will be the 3rd because this is sudden death, sudden victory, next goal wins, golden goal, however you want to term it. The next goal that is scored will win this if there is one over the course of 20 minutes, 2 overtime periods up to and if needed. But Johns Hopkins has played in 3 overtime games this year, so some experience, and they've done it all. A win, a loss, and one that went to the shootout in which they were victorious. So let's see, and as Kara mentioned, 7 players aside, that's a goalie plus 6. So that's 4 fewer players than what is typical over the course of regulation, 10 plus 1. And away we go. Johns Hopkins in the black-based uniforms. They go right to left in our first overtime period. Middlebury attacking left to right. It's the same directions as the second half for OT number 1. And what continues to be a chilly afternoon here with some hardware on the line. It's Lestage for Middlebury. Okay, you mentioned the goalkeepers play a much bigger role in a situation like this, but how does everyone's role change, really?
You have to be disciplined with your individual skill and your basics. That's passing and receiving. You want to allow the ball to do a majority of the work. You have to make sure that you have numbers behind the ball in your defense. But I think it's like ice hockey, where you go in, you sprint for the entire time that you can. Hopefully you can get some rotations. But also, those set pieces are all the more crucial.
This is Lestage trying to work on through, and it will be a corner. It's got a foot of falterer.
That's exactly what you want to be able to do, is give your team the opportunity. Now let's see if Middlebury can convert on their set piece, that they're only going to be going up against 3 defenders for Hopkins. And you'll see right here just a great play make coming from Sadie Lestage inside the circle.
Well, as you mentioned, everything looks a little different here. So it's 4 attacking players against the goalie and 3 players racing out of the cage. Actually, Middlebury opting to hold 1 player high out of the formation. Inside for Griffin. Extra pass back to Griffin. Slightly off her stick. Griffin still controlling, sends in a backhanded shot. Ball remains in, and it breaks out coming to the top.
That's what you have to do, especially going up against a talented flyer. Is play make at the top between the 2 players. A simple give-and-go pass eliminates the flyer and then opens up the cage, but Griffin just missed the reception, and that opportunity quickly dissipated.
Kicked out there by Loader, straight on, directed nicely for Erickson, who though loses it to Lestage. Erickson for Johns Hopkins coming over. Katie George, a clean takeaway. Griffin, George has a step. Now Griffin gets a little tangled. Tight defense by Burke. Next goal wins here in overtime and wins the national championship.
Just disciplined defense coming from Anna Scott right in the center of that defense. Keeps her stick on the turf. Keeps her body in good position, and eventually enough patience. The foul committed by Middlebury's attack.
Erickson working on Lestage. Haven't seen any substitutions so far within this extra period to this point. Here's Katie George from Middlebury trying to work through. Hung up. Strong challenge. And it breaks for Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, if you break that tackle with your body after your defense, or excuse me, the defender stops the ball, it's going to be a foul coming out for the defense. And can't talk enough about the playmaking ability of each role player on this defense for Hopkins.
Kayla Schaff just enters for Johns Hopkins. Junior from Virginia out there in overtime amidst her teammates. Arcs across as Middlebury builds from left to right. Emily Stone has it dispossessed, tries to win it back. Urbanski, though, for Johns Hopkins, who had the only goal for this Hopkins team in the national semifinals on Friday. She's going to come off and sub off. And it looks like Grace Waldeck's going to come on and now join the play for the Blue Jays in black.
Hopkins having a difficult time breaking the midfield when they're trying to outlet the ball. Middlebury's defense inside of the midfield is just too strong in stopping some of those plays. Hopkins needs to get numbers around the ball as they're building it out of the back.
4 minutes into this first overtime period. We'll play a second 10 minutes if we need to. Once again, it is sudden victory, meaning if a goal is scored, that ends it, that wins it, and a national championship to boot. Riffing across as the Panthers look for their 5th consecutive national championship. Stone with a little bit of space. Had Lancey to her right. Lancey's had a solid afternoon in the midfield for Middlebury.
Kayla Schaff doing a good job with holding the center of the defense for Hopkins. This team, of course, has enough players behind the ball to stop these Middlebury counterattacks.
Pass a bit off the mark here, and this might have too much on it. I don't think Marks is going to be able to get to it. She is not. So a turnover, and Johns Hopkins wants to move quickly. But they've also been defending for nearly these first 5 minutes of overtime number 1. It's been a while since we've heard from Middlebury goalkeeper Grace Harlan. Remember, he was a little banged up in the lower body in the midst of the second half, and with these cold temperatures and not moving around too much, you wonder how she might react if she is tested. Lots of space here for George. Steps on through. Lancey, rather, fires the shot, blockered away by Loader.
Backside of the stick foul against the attack from Middlebury, so it'll be a free hit out of the defense. So actually a whistle before this play was even pushed out of bounds by the goalkeeper in Loader. But still, Middlebury's getting inside the circle, but Hopkins is pushing them down into a low percentage area of the circle where they're finally able to shoot. So it's really all of that prep work and manipulation by the defense, putting these forwards in a position where they can't get a clean look on net.
Audrey Lazar just coming off from Middlebury and looks a bit gassed, catching her breath, leaving it all out there. Katie George comes on for her as Middlebury pushes in again. Tied up, a whistle coming, and it's a corner.
Great execution coming from Middlebury, and Emily Stone doing her part with getting inside the circle. Now, if you're Middlebury, you have to be able to have patience with the ball at the top of the circle. This is a nice pull by Stone. She sees the defense coming from behind and finally able to find that foot, which is hard to do against Hopkins because they are disciplined on their stick tackling, their block tackling, and their overall defense inside the circle. But Griffin, number 5 in white, is going to be a main point of this attack. The umpire giving the whistle to have this Middlebury team set up. Not too much time taken from when this is called to when it's executed.
Murphy will insert. It goes straight on for Lancey. Lancey waiting. Nice move to get free. Lancey fires a shot. It's blocked back out. Still Lancey working with it. And pushed out by Erickson of Johns Hopkins. First time the Blue Jays have been this deep into their offensive end within overtime. But it will be lost.
Charlotte Marks doing a great job on that counter defense, just staying with the play. You want to be able to match the foot speed, put one hand on the stick, and be able to come away with a clean jab tackle. I'm talking with Katie George yesterday and what she's able to do for her attack and how she operates as a forward. She goes, I go up against my teammates every day. I'm getting stuffed all the time in practice. And as you can see, Middlebury just really disciplined with marks in that backfield, especially on a big play like that.
Here's Griffin for the Panthers. Amy Griffin moving in, gets around one defender. Griffin across goal mouth, it deflects, and it's in! And the Middlebury Panthers have claimed their 5th consecutive national championship. It took overtime, but it's a final. 1-0 Middlebury over Johns Hopkins in the 2022 Division III Field Hockey National Championship. So the Panthers were continuing to pepper goal count really for much of the 4th quarter, for almost all of overtime. And the trophy is out for the 5-time victors.
Great show of teammanship, too, by this Middlebury team, running down all the way to their goal cage. Grace Harlan, as you can see, is kind of hurting and able to celebrate with their team. Yeah, it was a tough one for Middlebury to win. This is not the same story that they've told throughout the course of the season with getting the wins that they've had. Johns Hopkins' defense was absolutely amazing. And it really just comes down to how you can execute late in the game. Amy Griffin off of the carry inside the circle. And they really put Hopkins' defense under the task, but simply just deflected, I think, off of Falterer, and it went back off a loader into the back of the net. But you have to get something in front of the cage, and that's exactly what Middlebury is able to do. And an unfortunate bounce. Falterer had a great game, the entire game, on the defense.
So it was Burke who deflected it, or rather fired the shot. Falterer might have been stick first, then body, and then just in past the cage, and a tough way to lose for Johns Hopkins. National runner-up here in this Division III Field Hockey Championship. Just a fantastic, fantastic game here. And the Middlebury Panthers, again, winning 5 consecutive national titles with this 1-0 win. Their 7th national title overall, and now becoming the 2nd Middlebury program ever to capture 5 consecutive NCAA titles in one sport. The other, men's ice hockey, from 1995 through 1999. And Middlebury ends its season not allowing a goal. Some quick math, that's always dangerous when you're live on the air. In 395 minutes, the last 395 Middlebury plays, they do not allow a goal. Amy Griffin ends up as the hero in this one. What a performance we've seen here, and Middlebury will celebrate. So we will take a brief timeout. We will come back and we will see the presentation of the awards to both the national champions, the Middlebury Panthers, and the national runners-up, the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays, in what was an exceptional national championship game. For Carol Lentz, I'm Drew Casey, the rest of our crew. We're not going anywhere, though. Don't worry, we'll have the full coverage of the trophy presentation, the awards, the all-tournament team, and much more coming up after this as Middlebury is crowned the 2022 Division III Field Hockey National Champions.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the center of the field for the presentation of the championship trophy and individual awards. Presenting the awards are the NCAA Division III Field Hockey Committee members. The chair, Chrissy Chapel, head coach of Connecticut College, Jody Zappola of Endicott College, Megan Cross from the State University of New York Athletic Conference, Kenny Kemp from Warren University, Victor Brady of Bryn Mawr University, and Enzo Steele of the University of Minnesota. First, we would like to recognize this year's all-tournament team.
Well, he turned off this thing, but he's not done. He's a little bit longer.
we'd like to recognize this year's all-tournament team. As your name is called, please step forward towards the awards table. A midfielder from Williams, number 14, Catherine Torres. A midfielder from Williams, number 3, Emily Batchelor. A midfielder from Rowan, number 7, Christina Castagnola. A midfielder from Rowan, number 14, Bridget Guinan. A defender from Johns Hopkins, number 31, is Middlebury. A defender from Johns Hopkins, number 32, Anna Scott. A midfielder from Johns Hopkins, number 5, Abby Burke. A forward from Middlebury, number 2, Audrey Lazar. A midfielder from Middlebury, number 21, Catherine Lancey. A midfielder from Middlebury, number 5, Edie Griffin. Goalkeeper from Middlebury, number 25, Grace Simmons. And the most valuable player is from Middlebury, number 5, Amy Griffin. And now we present the team awards. First, the second place team finishing with a record of 19-4, the Blue Jays of Johns Hopkins. Number 2, Tessa Erickson. Number 3, Sophie Gomez. Number 4, Courtney Piper. Number 5, Abby Burke. Number 6, Ava Balichek. Number 7, Janera. Number 9, Riley Mitchell. Number 10, Megan Chang. Number 11, Grace Knuckles. Number 12, Sadie Abood. Number 13, Emily Jensen. Number 14, Emma Rose. Number 15, Jenna Hopkins. Number 16, Sienna Levinsky. Number 17, Laura Mitchell. Number 18, Zoe Bennett. Number 19, Mia Evans. Number 20, Emily Knight. Number 21, Michaela Schiff. Number 22, Cameron Thiesing. Number 25, Grace Warbeck. Number 29, Sam Chabot. Number 30, Olivia Fox. Number 31, Liz Forwell. Number 32, Anna Scott. Number 35, Sarah Jenny. Number 66, Morgan Seward. Number 77, Alexis Loder. And number 88, Susan Williams. We'd also like to salute the coaches for Johns Hopkins, James Albanese, Bert Davis, and head coach Jane Wells. And now, the 2022 NCAA Division III Field Hockey National Champions, finishing their work with a record of 21-1, the Middlebury Panthers. Number 1, the Charlotte Marks. Number 2, Audrey Lazar. Number 3, Hannah Nedwar. Number 4, Lily Thibault. Number 5, Amy Griffin. Number 6, Lily Blanca. Manager, Hannah Sullivan. Number 8, Ellie Harrison. Number 9, S.K. Holock. Number 10, Riley Martian. Number 11, Sadie Lassie. Number 12, Sarah Bona. Number 13, Georgia DeFeo. Number 16, Meg Shelbourne. Number 17, Taylor Lucky. Number 18, Ellie Hughes. Number 19, Katie George. Number 20, Kelly Cooper. Number 21, Catherine Lindsay. Number 22, Grace Murphy. Number 23, Caroline Siegel. Number 24, Emily Stone. Number 25, Grace Cohen. Number 26, Grace Keith. Number 27, Caroline Haggerty. Number 28, Laduna Rupka. Number 33, KK Newton. And number 44, Thea Rosenzweig. Coaches, Lauren McNally, Emery Ray, and Catherine DiLorenzo. And now we ask that the team captains from Johns Hopkins, Tessa Erickson, Oliver Fox, and Anna Scott, please come forward to accept the second place team trophy. Congratulations to the Blue Jays of Johns Hopkins. And now we ask team captains Grace Sullivan, Ryan Marshall, and Grace Murphy, please come forward to accept the trophy for the champions Middlebury Panthers.